I come across a passage where it says that the disciples were terrified, or were frightened, or were afraid. I always wonder for a little bit, didn't they get it already? They were with Jesus for so long. Why are they still frightened all the time? And if I were to be realistic and put myself in their shoes, and I was on a boat in stormy water, and suddenly I see this guy walking on top of the water towards me, I would probably freak out. But I keep thinking, well, these guys, they knew Jesus. They knew that he was able to do the impossible. Just a little bit ago, they'd seen many impossible things. They'd seen him healing. They'd seen him multiply loaves and fish. They'd seen him do all this amazing thing. Why couldn't he also walk on water? Why wouldn't it just be Jesus? But there they were, terrified. And it gives me a little bit of good feelings to know that the disciples were terrified in the face of Jesus, because sometimes I'm terrified in the face of Jesus. And I don't remember who originally said this quote, but I remember hearing this some years ago, that courage is not the absence of fear, but instead it's taking action in the face of fear. I think that's really what it's all about. The disciples were afraid constantly, but they still acted. They still followed Jesus' instructions. And just a few hours before this whole walking on the water thing, there they are by this mountain. And people are flocking towards Jesus because they've seen all the wonderful signs. And there they are, and it's in the middle of basically nowhere. There's enough grass around for 5,000 people to sit down. So this is not really in the middle of a town. And suddenly Jesus pulls one of his disciples aside and says, "Hey, Philip, come here. Where are we going to buy bread for all these people that are around?" I always imagine that Philip kind of freaks out in his head. Like, there's nowhere to buy bread around here. Where would I even buy bread? If I could buy bread, 6 months' wages wouldn't be enough to buy enough bread to feed the people here. What are we going to do? Andrew tries to help out a little bit. He's like, I found someone who has 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Like, 10 people are going to get some food. But at least some people will eat. Maybe that will work. And of course, Jesus knows what's going to happen, so he's just testing them. I like to picture Jesus as just kind of playfully giving them a hard time. He's like, guys, it's okay. Just trust me on this one. Give them the food and watch what happens. And amazingly, these 5 loaves and 2 fish become enough for everyone to have whatever they want to eat. And 12 baskets full of breadcrumbs are left over. That's so amazing. And it's so easy for us to get caught up in the fear of scarcity when God wants us to live in abundance. We're so afraid that there's going to be too much month at the end of our paycheck, that we don't have enough things to make ourselves happy, that we just don't have enough. And what we do have, we have to hold on to tightly, because if we start letting other people have some of our stuff, well, then that's even less than we have. And it's better for just the few people to have enough than to try to give everybody just a little. But that's not the life God wants us to live. God wants us to live abundantly, without worry, without fear. I'm not saying to live recklessly, so don't go out today and buy another house, a boat, a motorcycle, a new car, not to drive, just to have in the garage because you think it looks cool. I'm not saying to do that, but to just go out and live life and enjoy life abundantly, as if it doesn't matter what's going to happen, that somehow God will provide. Somehow God will provide. I don't know how it's going to look. It may not be the way you expect. It may not be that you go out and have some fun and then suddenly God says, well, since you gave this much money to the church, I'll give you this much money back. This isn't a health and wealth gospel kind of thing. I'm not saying give all your money to the church and then God will give you all your money back plus interest. But if you want to try that method out, you can make your checks payable to Christopher Richardson. But if you go out and you enjoy the things that God has already given you, and you live into the abundance of what you already have, you find that your desire for more fades away. That God has given you a bright, shining sun to warm you. God has given rain to water the earth, to produce fruit and vegetables for us to eat, to nourish ourselves. God has given you a community, the people sitting around you this very moment, who will share all the ups and downs of life with you, who will share with your joys and your sorrows. God has given you so much that if you live into what you have, you won't need anything more. You suddenly won't want to go out and buy that second home, that new boat, that car to keep in the garage. Because you realize that when you start living life with abundance, you don't need more because it's already there. So start living that abundant life today. Start getting to know what it means to have God provide for your needs without your care or worry. And know that love of Christ that surpasses all understanding, this love that makes absolutely no sense, but it's there and it's real. And then you experience the fullness of God. And when you're full of God, you need nothing else. Live with abundance. And let everything else simply fade away. Amen.
That's all your house is? It's a pile of stuff with a cover on it. You see that when you take off in an airplane and you look down and you see everybody's got a little pile of stuff. Everybody's got their own pile of stuff. And when you leave your stuff, you got to lock it up. Wouldn't want somebody to come by and take some of your stuff. They always take the good stuff. They don't bother with that crap you're saving. Ain't nobody interested in your 4th grade arithmetic papers. They're looking for the good stuff. That's all your house is. It's a place to keep your stuff while you go out and get more stuff. Now, sometimes you've got to move. You got to get a bigger house. Why? Too much stuff. You've got to move all your stuff. And maybe put some of your stuff in storage. Now imagine that. There's a whole industry based on keeping an eye on your stuff.